Man, things are getting crazy on How to Get Away with Murder, and that ending, I'm like, wow. This is, next week's the season finale, so we're going to really see how all of this is going to play out. Let's talk about this. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to KRS TV. This is your boy Kenny, and this is How to Get Away with Murder, Season 5, Episode 14. And the name of this episode is Make Me the Enemy. And next week is the season finale of Season 5, so I'm definitely looking forward to it. But this episode was really good, so let me begin. Now, the episode opens up with Annalise going to Tegan, because remember on the last episode, the governor gave her a folder saying that the person who killed Nate Sr. was Emmett Crawford. She now is sharing this information with Tegan, and Tegan is even saying that, this doesn't even sound like Emmett's MO. Like, this is just weird. And, she tells her that she got the information from Governor Burkhead, and of course, she's questioning, like, whether, can you really trust her? Like, seriously? And, but according to the records that Annalise received from the governor, that pretty much after she left Camp Plan Gold, Nate Sr. was killed 2 hours later. So maybe that was Emmett's motive, that because she left to go work with the governor, he in return took out the face of her class action suit, which was Nate Sr. So, and then she also tells Tegan that they almost kissed. So she's like, okay, put on that red lipstick and, use your feminine wiles to get to the bottom of it to see whether he did this or not. And, find out, if he actually had Nate Sr. killed. So then we see that Annalise definitely is looking, snatched. I mean, Annalise looked good in this episode. I mean, she looked like money. She went up into Emmett's office, and they talk about what happened at Christmas, because they did have a moment where it looked like they was about to get really intimate, and we definitely see there is like some chemistry between the two of them, and pretty much he was like saying that it was a moment and it should have never happened, but then Annalise is like, but I wanted it to happen, But then he said that, look, I have a history of misconduct, and even though this is intriguing, I want to keep this professional. So he was like, yeah, just as always, just being this firm's good little boy, and walked away. I'm like, Annalise just knows how to cut Emmett, and we just see that Emmett was pissed that she said that shit. So then we get a scene that Bonnie meets up with the crew. She's saying that, look, we got a project to do. We need to file a motion to get, Oliver's laptop back. Now that, Tabasco has been suspended, they really have no need for it, but yet it's at the hands of other FBI agents, so it could still, they can still use it as evidence. And Oliver was saying that, well, as long as they don't get to my firewalls, it's okay. But yeah, it sucks that, he doesn't have his computer. So they're trying to work that out. And she notices that Laurel's not there. And she's like, well, where's Laurel? And they said that, oh, she had an appointment, for little Christopher. We see that this damn heifer Laurel is meeting with Agent Tabasco's ass. And she pretty much was like, at first was like wondering, so what are you here for? Are you here about Miller? Do you have any information for me? And she was like, no, I just been getting these phone calls, and they've been calling me from a blocked number, and I wonder if it's my mother. Is she okay? And he says that, and she tells her that she hasn't heard from her mother since her dad's arrest. And all this time I was wondering, did she kill her mother? And we come to find out she actually did it. But far as what it looks like, her mother got taken care of. And But then she kind of like plays that same move that she was doing with Annalise, because Tabasco's a snake and how the way she moves. She's saying that I can offer you and your son protection. You know, I'll make sure you guys are good. In return, you actually help me to take down, you know, people who should be in jail for crimes unsolved. You know, there's some people who need to be in prison, and I can give you the same immunity deal that I offered Annalise. And I'm like, this trifling bitch. So we saw that happen. So then afterwards, we also see that Annalise meets up with Nate, and she brings up the information that she got from the governor about Emmett, you know, calling, you know, the guard, you know, and they had called, and he's been talking to this guard like 2 weeks beforehand, and they were supposedly planning to kill Nate Sr. But then once she mentioned she got it from the governor, of course Nate looked like, really, bitch? But then she's like, look, you know, I know, you know, but I'm starting to think she may be trying to, you know, do one of my old moves, you know, try to frame the next possible person. But then Nate's like, no, it could be the truth. Because remember from the last episode, Annalise's mom gave Nate letters that she was, you know, getting from Nate's father, because they were keeping in touch after the Supreme Court hearing. And pretty much he read in one of the letters, you know that he had wrote to your mother, that there was this slick lawyer who tried to come and tried to get him to drop Annalise, you know, and that he would represent him, but Nate Sr. turned him down. And probably that lawyer was Emmett. So Emmett right now is looking really suspect. So Nate has a contact, you know, in the jail. He got the whole visitors log of who was all there, but then he said he wanted some security footage, and he's like, name your price. So then Nate tells Annalise, well, hey, you're working for the blood money firm who's behind this, so won't you pay the money? Well, she's like, look, he'll get paid when he actually brings some results. But then she gets interrupted by Gabriel. Now this is, you know, it's still Christmas break, so there's no clinic, so she's like wondering why the hell you here. And he tells her that his mother wants to visit him, and she still thinks he's in Virginia and that he never told her that he transferred. And Annalise, and I agree with Annalise, like, why the hell are you telling me this? And here it goes, this asshole, well, it involves you, you know, and she was like, excuse me? And he was like, and he just, and he was like, well, and he just kind of like was just going back and forth with this. Annalise cut him at the knee. She's like, oh, no, honey. It does not involve me. I didn't tell you to lie to your mother, and I didn't tell your ass to transfer here. And she's like, as far as I'm concerned, I saved your ass from federal prison, so I'm done. You know, then he's like, so what am I supposed to do? She's like, you need to figure that out. And he's like, fine, I'll tell her the truth. But don't get mad if she shows up at your doorstep and she says yes, and if that happens, your mother will go back to snorting pills. Is that what you want? Then all of a sudden he rolls back and was like, look, I'm confused and I'm alone. She's like, it's called adulthood. You're alone most of the time, and the quicker you accept it, the better off you'll be. And he was just like, well, thanks for the advice. I'm like, Gabriel is starting to really piss me off, because here it is, you done lied and schemed your ass into her life and into the life of the Keating crew, and you just been doing nothing but being a paranoid, you know, aggravating asshole the whole time, because you're still trying to resolve some inner angst that Sam was some great person, and but yet everybody's lying to you, when yet we know that Sam was garbage. And it was garbage of what he did to your mom, what he did to Annalise, and, you know, what he did to Lala Stangard. Like, dude, your father wasn't a good man. Swallow this shit and move on. But it's that thing, like, he doesn't want to accept that his father was an evil man, so he doesn't want to let it go. So then, after that meeting, she meets up with Michaela, and she wants her to go to Gabriel's and try to stop his mom from visiting. You know, so he pretty much, so they go back and forth, and she was like, "Oh, so I see. You want me to use my boobs, right?" And she's like, "No, fool. I want you to use your head. You know, just like you did with Simon." And she's like, "But you hated what I did." And she's like, "Yeah, and he's no longer, and we no longer heard from him. So obviously I was wrong." So I'm like, see, now you finally realize that, now she's finally getting, you know, credit for her move. Because I even said a long time ago, she did the right thing by getting rid of Simon and reporting him to ISIS, because that messy bitch was going to continue to hold things over their head, and he was going to continue to blackmail them. She clocked it when no one else did, and that's why she got his ass up out of here. So pretty much, she, you know, they have a conversation, and she kind of tells Michaela that, "Look, I'm in a mess right now, so bad that I will take a plane and go to some place where you don't even know exists. So be happy that I'm not telling you what this is." Because she's, you know, sinking in the fact that this person that she's worked with actually killed Nate Sr., a man that she was not only defending, but a man that she's also grown fond and close to. So she's feeling a lot at this moment. So then we see that Michaela goes to Gabriel, and she uses the whole thing of, you know, studying for the midterms, and that she is one of the, you know, top percentile of the clinic, you know, as far as her grade point average. So they decide to have a little study date. Then we get a scene where Frank is playing with Christopher. Laurel immediately says that, "Did you know that Annalise was getting immunity from the FBI?" And he was like, "Who told you that?" She's like, "Well, she said it. Annalise did say she was going to see the FBI. I'm like, "Bitch, you didn't know about it until Telasco told you, so stop lying." That's the thing about Laurel that I can't stand. Laurel is always lying, and she's always making these moves. There's moments where I'm like, okay, I'm with Laurel, but most of the time, I be wanting to slap the shit out of her, because she just does too much for me. And pretty much, she was saying that, well, you know, Tegan got Telasco suspended, so why are you stressing out, you know? And besides, you need to make things right with Bonnie. You know, she's in a bad place, and forgiving her will keep her alive. You know, because the fact that you're still holding on all this anger about her, you know, exposing little Christopher to the situation, you're just making it worse for her. And we definitely seen this episode every time that Laurel was around Bonnie, you can just see that Bonnie starts getting shooken up, you know. But then she also brings up the fact that, look, I want you to look into this situation involving my mom, and you know my dad and how he works. You think he's just gonna sit in prison? I'm thinking something happened to my mother. So he says that I'll call Otis and find out what's going on with that. So then we see Bonnie and crew. They're writing up the motion to get Oliver's laptop back. Laurel shows up, and you can still see that Laurel still has this tension with Bonnie. And she was saying, and she mentioned that, do you think doing this motion is a good idea? Because isn't it like poking the bear? You know, and she ends up walking away eventually. And Bonnie, is, as I said, is shooken up, because she does feel guilty that little Christopher was around when that whole thing went down with Miller. And pretty much Bonnie tells Oliver, you can represent yourself. And here go Connor trying to take control. It's like, well, because he was just like, well, I've been watching Annalise, and I do have a degree in musical theater. I'm like, stop! Olive oil, cut it out! I was cracking up. Like, Oliver gave me life this episode. This episode, I liked Oliver, because you know a lot of times when Oliver gets me mad and I start calling him olive oil, I'm usually, you know, ripping him to shreds. But in this episode, he definitely, you know, he definitely won one in my book, and he did his thing. But Connor was like, well, I can be your co-plaintiff because I'm your husband, and I can say I got stuff on the laptop too. But Oliver's like, well, you don't. Well, he's like, well, look, we just need to stack the deck. You know, we can't worry all about the formalities right now. Let's just get this, let's just do this and let's make this happen. So then we get a scene with Tegan and Emmett. Emmett obviously got something to tell her. She already kind of feels the energy, and she's like, look, I'm a straight shooter, so won't you just tell me what's up? And he's like, well, that's just it. I want to know what's up, because IT alerted me about an email that had the name Jane Doe, and it was attached to you. Like, what's going on with that? She's like, oh no, somebody's trying to frame me, and you can just definitely tell that she's shaking up, because if it gets leaked that she was the one that blew the whistle on Antares, she knows she's good as dead. So she's shooken up. But then he kind of tells her that you want my job because you may be up for a promotion, because I'm actually going to be leaving the firm and I'm going to be doing something, I'm going to be finding a career outside of law. So she immediately says she's interested, because she's been knocked down since that whole Antares blow up, because she was about to become partner. She was about to hit that peak in her career, and since that she's been demoted. So she pretty much lets them know that she's interested, and then he says, okay, well, I'll make sure that this email never sees the light of day, and I'll talk to the board. And she pretty much asks, like, well, what other firm are you working for? He's like, oh, I'm not going to a firm. She's like, well, if you're not going to be doing law, what are you going to be doing? We come to find out he's going to be running for DA. So immediately, the both of them, Tegan and Annalise, are suspicious. And then pretty much she's coming up with a narrative, Tegan, that is, that he knows that and the governor knows, and he's trying to get in on, becoming the DA so that he can cover himself. And then she was just saying that, wow, this situation is so damn insane. No wonder why you drink. I'm like, finally, somebody gets why Annalise drinks. This is some crazy shit, enough to make you want to jump off a cliff. Just so much drama, so much angst, and then she got these damn kids who she's covering for, and they do nothing but give her bitching and moaning every chance they get. So then we get the scene with Michaela and Gabriel. They going back and forth, and he gets a call, and she was like, oh, is that your mom? But no, it's a girl named Janelle that he knows. And all of a sudden she was like, well, interesting. So then they kind of go back and forth, and then he starts to kind of fish the fact that, Annalise sent you, didn't she? She sent you to stop me from letting my mom come by to visit. I just want to know, when did the lies stop? And she was like, lies? Really? I'm like, get his ass, Michaela. Because shit, Gabriel, you've been lying from the beginning. You got a nerve to be talking about somebody lying? That's what I'm saying. It's that self-righteous shit. You can tell he's Sam's son, because Sam was an asshole just like this. So we can definitely tell that this is Sam's kid. And then he pretty much says that, yeah, it's messed up because I've been lying to my mother this whole time. But, I want to handle my mother without lying, because I'm thinking about, well, she pretty much tried to tell her that, look, just let her know you busy with studies, and, you'll see her the next time you visit home or something. And then you can finally do what you got to do, and you can take your ass back to the University of the University of Virginia. And he was like, well, I'm thinking about, transferring here to Middleton. And she was like, oh, really? And he's like, oh, so you think I'm doing it because of you? And I'm like, well, you like me. It is what it is, but we know what's going on. But then I'm just going to tie this whole moment together. Then, they start going back and forth after that. And he was like, well, the reason I'm staying in Middleton is because I don't believe Wes killed Sam. I think there's more to this. And personally, I think you know. And she's like, well, I don't know any more than what I've told you. He's like, well, that's just it. I can't accept that. And then the fact that you don't want to know about your birth parents and all of that. But for me, I want to know who he was and who killed him. I want to know. And she was just like, and then she tells a story about her, her birth parents and about what she's going through. Because she had mentioned the fact that, look, why can't you just accept what you got? I just think you're doing this because you don't want to accept that your father was an evil man and that evil could probably rest inside of you since you're his seed. And trust me, I know what that feels like. And she talks about how her father shot her birth mother. But she said that, look, I realized that I only got myself to worry about. I have no parents. My foster parents want shit. I decided that, look, it's up to me whether I succeed and whether I win or lose in this life. And, I realized that, hey, I can be the best me that I can possibly be. And I have nobody to argue anything I do. Because it's just me. And then this smug son of a bitch tells her, yeah, I can tell Annalise sent you. Because you just made up that story so I would stop talking about Sam. And I was like, you should have slapped the living shit out of Gabriel. Disrespectful bastard. Michaela got so mad because she's tearing up because this is obviously, she's being real with your ass and you're so full of yourself and so full of shit, you can't even get with someone being real with you. So she flipped out. She was like, you know what? Won't you call your damn mother and tell her that Michaela will never deal with her lame ass son. And then all of a sudden he runs behind her. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do this. Oh my God. I'm like, he likes her. That's one of the reasons why you transfer into. You like her. And all of a sudden we see when they was going back and forth, Asher comes in. And he's like, what's going on? And she's just like, you know what? I'm just tired. I'm okay. I'm just gonna go. So he sees that Michaela's bothered, and we know that Asher still has a place in his heart for Michaela. So he goes to charge after Gabriel. Gabriel pays his ass dust and slams the door on him. So I was like, there's definitely gonna be some tension there between Gabriel and Asher, because at first they were the best of buddies, but now Michaela's in the mix. It's going to be a totally different situation. So we just got to keep watching. And I think probably something may go down on the season finale. So we just got to keep watching on that. So we pretty much see that Laurel is really kind of thinking about will she actually take the immunity deal or whatever. And then we see that, she gets rid of, the baby's jacket with the bloodstain on it. Then she runs into Bonnie, and her and Bonnie have a moment. Bonnie's like, I know you hate me. And she's like, well, that's not true. She's like, look, I understand where you feel, but I just wish I could understand that. But unfortunately, nobody protected me as a child. And here it is. I did the same thing to little Christopher, and I will never forgive myself for that. And she's like, but what if I forgive you instead? And we just see that Bonnie really feels remorse that little Christopher was involved. And if she had a choice, he wouldn't have been. But we see that that's going on. And then finally, Asher calls up that they got to go because they got to do this hearing. So Connor and Oliver appear in court. Connor is leading, he's pretty much, leading the discussion, with the judge. And she was saying that, well, you really don't have no legal counsel, but he's saying that due to his husband, there's things on the laptop that are mine. And we see that Asper is whispering things to him, and the judge called it out. She's like, stop it. Like, shut up. Like, because he's feeding things for Connor to say, because Connor is trying to represent himself, and Connor, normally, since they're students, they're not allowed to really be in court unless there's a supervised attorney there. And here it is, Connor trying to be the man and trying to run the situation. He's tripping up and everything. And pretty much, the judge said that, look, there may be still things on that laptop that may be of some use to the FBI. And yeah, they could have downloaded things, but right now it's in their hands. And once what they're looking for is once they got what they want, it will be returned to you. But until then, it still is going to be in the presence of the FBI, because they did have a strong argument. that they wanted to find out, due to the fact that there was a crime that happened at the wedding, and that was the last place that that Miller was known to be. That was one of the last places that Miller was known to be. The whole situation is suspect. So they pretty much denied the motion, and Connor just felt like crap because Connor was trying to serve it to her, and she was just shutting them down. Boom, boom, boom. No, motion denied. So then we actually see Nate and Annalise meet up. He gives her a photo of this guy sitting in front of Nate Sr., but they only get the back of his head, but he says it looks like Emmett from the back. And actually they were on the phone talking because he had sent her an email, and it was an email of the guy talking to Nate Sr., but you only can see the back of his head. Then all of a sudden she faked it once Emmett came in, and Emmett comes in and invites her to dinner. And then we also see that Frank meets up with Laurel. He says that Otis has this number, that tracked to your mom, but it's a number in New York, but the number is disconnected, and it was in French. And pretty much Frank said that, look, right now, do nothing. And he says that, look, little Christopher, that's my guy, and I know things didn't work out between me and you, but I will kill and slay your whole family before I let them take him away from you again. And she's just like, I just want a normal life. And he's like, don't we all? I'm like, tell me about it. So then we see that Annalise goes to tell Tegan that she's going to dinner with Emmett, and she tells her you can't go. And she's like, Emmett's guilty. She's like, look, my ex, who's an IT whiz, she ran the information, and she got the same information that the governor had in her file. So and she's like, look, my ex is real good. And Annalise is like, well, if she's so good, then why is she your ex? I'm like, Annalise, ha! The shade was everything. But she's letting her know that, no, he's guilty. So we see that at this dinner scene, and shout out to Viola Davis and Timothy Hutton. They were acting their asses off in this episode, because from the dinner table alone, you can literally cut the tension from Annalise's side. Emmett is really just enjoying being out with Annalise, but Annalise immediately starts being real cut with him, and they just start, let me find it. Yes. So they just kind of start going back and forth. And eventually she lets it be known that she knows that he's running for district attorney. And then he was like, well, what, you disapprove? She's like, it doesn't matter to me. And she was like, and of course Emma's kind of like taken aback, like, yo, what's going on? And she's like, I thought we was going to have a good dinner. She said, it'd still be a good dinner. What's going on with this? And he said that, well, the reason why I'm doing this is because you inspire me, being the good old boy. Because he's literally had this perfect Ivy League life. He came from good parents. He came from good stock. But he's never really done anything on his own. So him doing this to run for, district attorney, this is him doing something that he wants to do, instead of kind of living the storybook life that his parents had set for him. But then he was saying that, look, I can't get a class action suit to the Supreme Court, but for me, this is like the next big thing. And she's like, I don't know if I believe you. She's like, I really want to get to know the real you. And he's like, well, that's what I've been trying to do, Annalise. She's like, no, boo-boo, because you like to perform and you people please. And you probably covering up something, and you don't become the head of a multi-million-dollar firm like a Planet in Gold, and you don't have a few bodies buried. And then she was like, they kind of go back and forth, and she was like, what, you just mad because, I just because I'm confident and I'm the honest person in the room. It's like, yeah, and you have a problem when I call you out on your crap. So they just start going back and forth, and he's like, you know, here it is. I really am showing that I'm really into you and that I care about you. And he's like, I don't get you. And she's like, well, that's sad because I get you completely. And gets up and walks out. And I'm like, oh shit. Where is this gonna go next? Because here it is, this dinner was about them getting closer, and because in her mind she really is convinced that he had Nate Sr. killed, and she let that spill out in the dinner, you know, and did it through shade and tension, we just see that Emmett was pissed. So then we see Annalise is at home drinking, and Nate and Bonnie have a moment, and he tells her about, you know, that the governor and that Emmett may have been involved in killing his father. So she's also kind of puzzled too because Ron wasn't involved. But he's like, well, why the hell are you here? You know, why are you not talking to Annalise? Why are you here than me? She's like, well, I need your help. You know, I need a video of this meeting. You know, who was actually there talking to my dad, and you know, I need you to meet up with Sykes, who's the warden. And she's like, what makes you think he's going to give me any information? She says, because you got something on his ass. So pretty much she goes to see Sykes. You know, Sykes is like, look, my guards follow protocol, and you can tell Leahy he can stop it with his bullshit. And she's like, I'm not here for Leahy. She's like, you know, and she pretty much says that, look, you know, there's, with this whole situation with Miller, you know, being dead and all of that, they may call you in, you know, in regards to the situation. And she played the call that he had and said, I want to make sure that he moves safe, that Nate Sr. is moved safe. That didn't happen, unfortunately. So this kind of looks suspect on him. So he agrees to get her the footage. So then we see Connor and Oliver in the bathroom. Connor's mad because the judge was not accepting anything he had to say, and he was in his feelings. Oliver is on Connor's laptop, and he decides to hack the judge's credit card. So then they go back, you know, and this time it's Oliver, and Oliver tells the judge, you know, and he's saying that, well, didn't you say that, you know, there may be some impropriety as to reason why I can't get my laptop? Well, how do we know? Well, let me see that. But then again, isn't there also impropriety involving the courts? And she was like, well, what do you mean? She's like, well, I'm talking about you. You know, on Christmas Day, when you put out that, when you signed off on the warrant, you were dining at a wine bar. And she's like, okay, and judges a lot of times make decisions, you know, when they're away from the bench. What's that to do with it? She's like, but you were at a wine bar. How do we know you weren't drinking when you decided to do this warrant? And the fact that, due to the fact that, you know, it was done on a holiday, but then it wasn't done at your desk. So how do we know you were not of sound mind when you made this decision? So they kind of go back and forth with this, and even the prosecuting attorney started questioning the judge, you know, about her public appearance and everything. And, you know, what she ends up doing, she's saying that, look, I am a woman that upholds the law, and based on this, she says, Oliver, thank you, because making sure that, you know, impropriety on my end is checked makes me respect you, because I do honor my position and I do honor this court. And due to the fact that there is, even though I can't prove this, I have decided that yes, I should have done this at my desk and not done it where I was at. So he gets his laptop back, and I'm like, okay, gold star for Oliver. Oliver finally did something on his own, and it was cool. And he finally gets back his laptop, and when they go to check the damn laptop, there's a picture of Tabasco's old trifling snake ass and the board where everybody is involved, where Annalise at the top, and all of this stuff is going on, and everybody's connected. So I'm like, damn. So they now know that Tabasco was onto them. And then we also see a scene with Asher and Michaela. She is kind of up in her feelings, and now she's filling out an inquiry about her parents, her birth parents, and she wants to know, she wants more information in regards to that. And she was like, me dealing with him and his whole situation, he's got me feeling like I need to know my parents and all of that. And he was saying that, hey, I called my mom. I understand, like, shoot, with Connor's mom saying, like, where are your parents? It made me reach out to my mom. She didn't reach out to me, but she was like, look, we all want a mother's love or our parents' love because our lives suck. And they tell each other that they miss each other because there's still love there. And so here it is, they tell Annalise, what they found on Oliver's laptop, and of course they're doing the most and everything. And she's on the phone with them, and they're calling her, and they're just going back and forth. Oh my God, what are we gonna do? Like, because they always do this shit. Then all of a sudden she gets a knock on the door, and it's Emmett. Emmett is pissed, and he was like, and she was like, look, you need to leave my home. And she was like, and she was like, he's like, no, until we need to get to the bottom of this, because I didn't kill that man, Annalise. And she's like, what? Like, what the hell? And she says, if you're going to accuse me, at least have the balls to accuse me in my face. And she's like, why would you think that? Don't you know people are spreading these lies so they can come between us? And he's like, girl, you and Tegan told me. C&G had a bug in Tegan's office since the whole thing with Antares went down, and I listened to it after the damn dinner, and it explained why you was giving me so much shade, why you were doing, all of this extra shit at dinner. Here it is, I'm trying to get to know you and trying to build something with you, and yet you're not even being honest with me, and you're being, combative. And they just go back and forth, and they just have this crazy ass argument. And if anything, he said that, she's like, well, I got proof here. The government gave me this. She's like, that shit is fake. I don't even know these people. Like, what the hell is going on here? Why are you believing everything she's telling you? So then we see that the crew is still wandering, and then here go damn Michaela talking about, then we got Laurel talking about, oh, well, maybe we should just talk to the FBI, get immunity. And I'm like, here we go. Damn Laurel doing the most yet again. Then we see this bitch Tabasco goes to Gabriel, and she says that, look, I'm here as a friend because I know who killed your father, but I'm gonna need you to return a favor. And I'm like, and that's his damn kryptonite is his whole situation with Sam. And I'm like, he's probably gonna find out how much they all were involved in that, even though Wes did kill Sam. And we all know that. So then we see that Nate, Frank, and Bonnie are looking at the footage that she got from Sykes. And while all that's going on, back at the house, Laurel gets a package. And she starts noticing that there's like some blood-soaked stuff inside her package. And also Michaela's like, what is that? And she said, my mother. So obviously that was somebody giving her a message that her mother's dead. And then all of a sudden, they actually, Nate, Bonnie, and Frank see the guy that met with Nate Sr. Both Bonnie and Nate don't know who he is, but Frank does. And then all of a sudden, while Emmett and Annalise is arguing, she gets a call, and they said the guy that met with Nate Sr. wasn't Emmett. And Frank tells her it was Ivy Castile, Laurel's brother. I'm like, holy shit! Laurel's family's involved in the bullshit again. So now we're going to figure out what is Laurel's brother's role. And, you know, I'm starting to think that he had a hand in killing Nate Sr. and he's probably working with the governor. So we just going to have to see how all this is going to play out. But next week is the season finale, so tune in for that. But if I missed anything, put it down in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. So subscribe to my channel. Click that bell so you get notifications every time I drop a video. Also follow me on all of my social platforms. I have them all listed in the description box. Also like this video, comment on this video, and share this video. And I will be back with the next episode of How to Get Away with Murder. I can't wait for the season finale, y'all. So until next time, everybody, take care.